Welcome to ANN InDepth. This is a special episode where we will focus on the crisis in Lebanon. I'm here joined by Rick McEdward, who is the leader of the Seventh-day Adventist Church for the region, and Günther, who is the leader for the ADRA organization. That's the Adventist Development and Relief Agency. And we want to talk about Lebanon. You have heard, you have seen the horrific videos of the explosion that happened right there in Beirut. And I would like, Rick, you were there, you are there now, and I would like you to tell us how that experience was and what happened, perhaps the impact to the church. I know you have some pictures. Please go ahead.
Well, first of all, I was sitting in my office just a little bit after what typically closing when the earth started shaking. And I thought it's an earthquake, and many of our people started rushing outside when the impact blast from the explosion caught up with the shaking, and all of the ceiling panels in my office that you see above me jumped about a foot and then settled back down. And we looked and nothing was shattered in our office, but very quickly we started receiving news about the impact on our churches, schools, community, homes. We didn't know at the time whether it was an air attack. We were not sure what was happening. So we were looking in the sky. Some people were running to bomb shelters that were used during the Lebanon Civil War many years ago. And we were looking up, and I ran home to see how my wife was doing. And we are in our home lost some windows. They were blew in, and we had literally shards of glass all over our house. And the impact, though personal, is much greater on those that have been closer to the blast zone downtown, where many, and I will say with condolences to the country of Lebanon, many have lost their lives, many have been injured and lost their homes. And so in the process, we have been personally impacted, but much greater by the country and by the city of Beirut. And you go downtown Beirut right now, Sam, it is full of buildings that have no windows, where the offices have been blown through. It's the buildings that have had a lot of employees, large buildings that are completely blown through, and just behind them, many apartment buildings nearby. Günther and I have visited several of the residential communities where many people have lost their homes.
We have some pictures of this. Can we have them up, please, on the screen? Where is this, Rick?
This is at our Bushria Seventh-day Adventist school. Both the school and the church next door to each other are about a kilometer from our union office, where I'm sitting right now, and not far from our homes. And the windows in the church and school were blown through. And actually, you can see in one of the other pictures how the church fared. And I don't know if this is actually in the downtown sector. This is the Corporation of Electric Board for the Nation of Lebanon. And you can just see all the dangling buildings and air conditioning units. Everything in that building has been blown through. And many other buildings like it. Yeah.
Wow. Keep going. Do we have more pictures there?
What's that? This is the Seventh-day Adventist Church. That's about a kilometer from here, Bushria Seventh-day Adventist Church. I counted the other day. We've already cleaned up the debris, but I counted the missing windows are about 22. So if we had to have worship services again, it would be open air worship services.
If you're joining in this broadcast and you're wondering what these pictures are about, this is from Beirut in Lebanon. You probably have seen the images of the explosion that happened there not too long ago. I'm joined by Rick McEdward, who is the leader of the Adventist Church for the region, and Günther, who is the leader of ADRA, the Adventist Development and Relief Agency. We're continuing to talk about what the situation is on the ground, what the church is doing, and how you can help. In fact, if you're listening to this and you would like to make a difference to the people of Lebanon, you have the option of giving. And if you go to adra.org/emergency fund, you could use your resources, however large or small they may be, to help in this difficult situation. We're going to talk about food being one of the main things that is expensive to buy at the moment as inflation is skyrocketing following this situation. Rick, this is downtown near the explosion, I presume.
This is just across the street from the explosion site, actually less than 100 meters from the explosion site. And along the highway and in every community, as you drive through the narrow alleys off of the highway, and all you see is destroyed cars. And they may be Mercedes or Land Rovers, or they may be old, difficult to operate cars to get parts for that have been around the streets forever, but virtually thousands of vehicles. And if you look in the background of this photo, those are apartment buildings that all of the apartments have been blown through.
That's incredible. Do we have more pictures at this point?
This is the downtown, just actually not far from here, the ADRA Lebanon headquarters, which was heavily damaged. Many windows, ceilings, collapsed walls, etc. were there. And we immediately the next morning sent a team of union and ADRA employees to go in and help clean up the debris.
Yeah.
What about this?
This is one of the apartments which we actually cleaned up. You'll notice that those large picture windows, which this apartment is a working class apartment, but had windows all around it. We sent teams down every day to clean up debris. And this man came to me on the sidewalk and said, "Can you help me? I cannot possibly do this." And we went up to his apartment on the 6th floor with no elevator service. And our team of people helped remove all of the broken doors and windows. The debris had been piled inside by the bomb blast, the explosion blast. And it was just piled inside, and we were able within about an hour and a half to completely restore order without windows or doors to his house. And afterward, he was just appealing to me saying, "Thank you so much. Take anything. We want you to go away with a souvenir from our house. Is there something we can do to repay?" And I told him, I said, "Listen, we're here as a visible expression of God's love to you. And that's all we're here for. Thank you." And we will visit him from time to time because he was so grateful for what we did for him. Across the street from his house was a auto dealer who had all of the windows in the auto dealership completely blasted out. The cars had already been removed, but the glass and the debris was there. So our team carefully scooped up all of the debris. I guess on Sunday this week, we hauled maybe 2 to 3 tons of glass from the blast zone in one small section of a suburb of Beirut that's really close, within about 300 or 400 meters of the blast zone.
I see Middle East University written on the T-shirts. That's one Adventist university right there in Beirut. The students, after, of course, they realized that this was a tragic event and people were in crisis, presumably they stepped up to help.
Actually, the Middle East University is one of our neutral brands, along with ADRA, where the churches locally, and we all have T-shirts from them already from the university. So we decided let's use this as a way of showing that we are coordinated, we are organized, and that we are loving the community in the name of the university, which is known as one of the original Christian universities in the city of Beirut.
Well, let me transition now to Günther and ADRA. ADRA has been present in every major world disaster recently, especially, and this is no different. So tell us, how is ADRA helping?
Well, the first thought that we had is that we knew that there will be rescuers, firefighters, and civil defense in the area to search for survivors, and we know that in this moment they are working around the clock And so we thought, let's take water for them and for other volunteers that we might find. As we went to the place, we realized that there were some blockades by the army, not letting the population to get closer. But we talked with the army. We reached the headquarters of the firefighters in a blockade, and then we talked with the firefighters, and they asked, no, you can leave here, the water we will take there. Then I said, no, we need Azada to go. And then he jumped in our car, one of the commanders, and he threw his presence in our two cars. We went to the site where the blast happened, and they were just starting to put a tent, the firefighters, and there were also rescuers teams from France, and then after Poland, and then they gave us also a list of materials they needed. The next day we managed to purchase things because on Thursday we had lockdown, not all the shops were open. So we went back on the following day, and we could set their rest camp for them. And the second thing that we start doing is to distribute water and also some food to the population on the other side of that road that separates the port from the buildings and the homes. And now we are, of course, doing reports, proposals. We receiving donations and coordinating with other NGOs areas for us to continue distributing food and also some vouchers with charged with some credit for people to buy food, or if they need to buy a pen or a tool or something to repair their home.
We have some pictures that you brought. If they could be added to the screen, you can tell us what we're looking at.
Yeah, well, this picture is taken from the highway that separates this area that you're looking, the port, and in the back is the city, let's say. As you see, that huge building is where the silos for the wheat, the grains were. We went to that place exactly there. And this section of the port is destroyed. It's incredible. And I talked with this commander of the firefighters, Sam and Rick. He said to me, look, I'm 25 years working with this unit, with the firefighters. Even during the war, I have not seen such destruction with one blast, So it's really amazing, sadly amazing.
Yeah. Next picture. Do we have? Keep the pictures coming. Let's go through.
Yeah, this is another close-up. There were two sheep. This is an interesting story. If I have the time, you see this firefighter, a young lady. So he told us this story. When the fire started, they were called. So they sent from this headquarters one truck and one ambulance.
Let's talk about that a little bit. I noticed in the videos I watched of the explosion, the reason why most people were filming already is that there was already a fire going on.
That's right.
And the story is about this truck being sent to handle the fire, not the explosion.
Exactly.
Okay.
So then when they reached there, they called the headquarters again. Come, bring all trucks with water we have because the fire is huge. So the commander told me. Then they called everyone and they came down to the ground level. And when they were in the ground level, the blast happened. So if they were on the rest place on the top, I took pictures. All their headquarters is destroyed as well. So there will be casualties. But incredible. He told us, sadly, he told me that first unit, that when they went there, they could not find either the truck, neither the ambulance. Only 3-4 days after, they found the lady, of course, the corpse of the lady. So those first 5 firefighters, because they call the others, they save the others. It's a very touching story.
It is amazing that the firefighters and ambulance workers and police officers from all around the world, they head toward danger. And maybe you are watching this from home and you're wondering how you could help. It is very simple. If you go to adra.org/, you'll see the thing on your screen, the link on your screen, adra.org/emergency fund. You could have a direct impact in helping to alleviate the suffering that is going on in Lebanon. We're going to talk about the government has recently resigned. There is a lot of issues going on that have come from before, but especially from the blast, and we need your help. So adra.org/emergency fund. Günther, keep going with the pictures. What's the next one?
Well, you see other pictures from the town, lots of destruction. I think that you see even many people have lost their jobs. They cannot go to their jobs. And here's the camp from the firefighters. You see my colleague there standing with a glass of bottle. They were very happy with what ADRA did for them because they are working around the clock. They didn't have a place to rest because even their equipment, their material was destroyed in the blast. And you see downtown Beirut is a very beautiful section with these shops, famous brand shops. They were also all destroyed.
Next picture. Yeah.
And here is also inside the firefighter headquarters. We are talking with this commander. Now, Rick, you can explain that.
So one of the things that we've been doing, Sam, is sending out teams to sweep the streets, to help people clean apartments, to clean out businesses. And even though it's one at a time and it's slow, painful work because the glass is all shattered into small pieces. So actually cleaning a street from glass is really painstaking work. The other thing that we've been doing is already before the crisis, we've been packing food parcels because of the economic crisis that has unfolded here. But now that this has happened, yesterday we had a large group down in our school here, Bushria Adventist School, which was impacted, setting up, and they packed several, I think 300 food boxes to give out food boxes to people who've been affected by the economic and now the other crises that are here in Lebanon, like this explosion.
Rick, let me transition to that conversation because inflation has skyrocketed. That means that food is now very expensive. The blast has set in motion a sequence of events where the government has now resigned. Now, both ADRA and the Seventh-day Adventist Church, you are nonpartisan. You work in a very neutral way everywhere that the church is found and that ADRA is found, and you provide a lot of help to the communities that are in need. But this has not, the difficult situation has not started with the blast in Lebanon. Tell us more about that social, economic, perhaps, impact that this has had.
Well, you're exactly right. About 9 months ago, I arrived back from travel to the General Conference. And as I arrived back, I could not get a taxi to my home because all of the streets in Beirut were blocked. There was burning trash and fires, tires burned, and there was a popular protest among sincere Lebanese that wanted to see the country reorganized. This was, and almost every political party recognized this as a positive demonstration to say, we Lebanese want to improve our country. And over the next several days, it morphed and changed, but that launched simultaneously with a economic crisis where the banks were closed for about, except for a couple of days, about a month, and the currency began to spiral out of control. It went from 1,500 lira to the dollar to up to over 10,000 to the dollar, and it's varying. So we lost about 85% of our purchasing power. All of the food in the markets and supermarkets increased in their cost, so that the average Lebanese person doesn't have what it takes to purchase food and to stay afloat during this crisis. Also, because right after that, the coronavirus crisis, the COVID crisis came, which caused a lockdown in March. And we were on lockdown for about 6 weeks with nobody going out of their house and slowly opening up the shops and stuff again. Well, that crisis returned about a week ago, and we started on lockdown again because the caseload is increasing. The government has locked down again. So currently, we have faced political, economic, and health crises that has brought the nation of Lebanon to its knees economically and health, and the hospitals have been filling up. The expectation before the explosion was that the hospitals would be full of COVID victims by August 20. And suddenly, the blast happened, and with the blast, it took out 2 major hospitals, completely destroyed. One of them that has the best critical care unit in the country is reduced to 20% of its original capacity of the entire hospital. So we are reaching out, basically saying, is there anybody in the world that can help fund the rebuilding of this large hospital? The infrastructure of the country, roads, and some of the large ministries, the electric board, etc., have been damaged. The hospitals have been damaged. So suddenly, the country is currently at a standstill because of the economic impact. And a large portion of downtown Beirut cannot function, which would mean more jobs than what is estimated at 50% unemployment right now. Probably was just added another 10 to 15% unemployment, I'm guessing at that rate, because the large office buildings that have just been put out of commission for a while.
So more than half of the families don't have access to a source of income. I also read about the port and how a great proportion of food that comes into Beirut comes from the port, and that's now done because the blast was near the port. So that's adding a layer of complexity that is beyond most people's capacity to handle.
Sam, if I can interject, the granary for the whole country is at the port and has been destroyed.
And that's the tall building that Günther was showing us before, right? That's the destroy. So the grains are done. You see, most people that are watching this broadcast, 2020 has been very difficult for you, but it doesn't seem to compare with what we're seeing here because the level of desperation is greater. We are part of this global Seventh-day Adventist Church, and the prayers have been constantly, we've been praying since the blast. Here is a prayer from someone here, Romer. This is what he says. Dear God, please bring calm to the disturbed, healing to the injured, comfort to those who have lost their families and friends, and restoration to the people of Lebanon. And I make this our prayer on behalf of 21 million Seventh-day Adventists, that God will bring, a respite to the suffering that is going on and the anxiety that is there. If you are watching this from home and God has given you a lot of resources and you want to help, and even if you don't have many resources, there is a website you can go to, and that is ADRA.org, ADR. Let's bring that up to the screen, the link, ADRA.org/emergency fund, ADRA.org/emergency fund. Normally in ANN InDepth, we do not have ever any request for giving or donations, except in moments of crisis like this. So ADRA is on the ground. Günther, tell us more what ADRA has been doing. If you joined the broadcast just now, then help us share this with others so that we can provide an update to the world about what's going on and how they can help. Günther, tell us more about the ADRA operation there.
We are right now doing needs assessments together with other organizations. because we are now ending the first initial response, that is in the first week, distributing food and water. And now we are also doing planning, contacting donors, receiving donations. We received today, a couple hours ago, one ton of food coming from Slovakia, where in a plane. ADRA Slovakia sent us with their government plane that just arrived here. So we are also in the process of packing this food to distribute in the next days. So the critical now is the coordination with others that are on the ground for us to identify the areas and which we are continuing to work. But for sure, we are continuing to distribute food, prepare food and vouchers with credit for the people, because basic needs now are not only food and water, but security. Lots of homes are without the door or windows. We have interviewed people who are sleeping during the night and rotating with family members to be awakened during the night and day to protect their homes. So we are also planning to provide them with resources to secure, not repair all the house, but secure the house. So that's what we are also doing.
What do you expect in the next, we talked about the immediate situation. What do you expect in the medium and long term in terms of both ADRA and the church's involvement in restoring and rebuilding and bringing hope to people that really what is needed is hope that things will get better. The Lebanese people are very resilient people. They've been through terrible things in the past, and they've come through. And we all know that this will happen again. But medium to long term, let's start with ADRA, and then Rick, perhaps you could come in after.
Well, ADRA Lebanon has a history in the education sector. So we want to identify also 1, 2, 3 schools to assist them in their rehabilitation and work in the community surrounding, because there are 300,000 children without a home now. So we want to focus as the funding we get for this sector. We also will continue providing assistance in food security, because as we have been talking here, people before this emergency many have lost their jobs, and now even worse. So the assistance is not only now, but it has to be for a couple more months. So we will work on this for food security, education, and if we get also funding, one aspect is very important, is the mental health support, because the Lebanese population, as we all are aware, they went through difficult times in the past. So many people are affected with this blast because of brought the past history also. And even for the children that have not that history, but what happened here is very stressful. So we are, as the funding comes, we are also going to have maybe 1, 2 teams, something to give this mental health support to the people.
Excellent. Rick?
Of course, also with ADRA, I've heard a lot of discussion about a Windows and Doors project, because that's one of the major issues that we face. As for the church, our first thing was to look and see what we had lost, and we immediately cleaned up. We're waiting for church and church members for things to be able to be fixed. While we're waiting, we are addressing the community from the church side and saying, we want to be a positive influence. So we're doing the food parcels, we're doing cleaning up and helping people. If we get a chance from the church side, we will help renovate a couple of apartments if we get a chance to do that, to address people's real life, to bring some structure and stability back. but we have to also balance that with the repairs that are needed for our churches and schools, etc. But we have really focused right now on just sending our volunteers, our students at the university, our pastors, our church members, our union staff, to go down and say, let's be a blessing, and to go by one through the community saying, do you need help? What can we do to assist you? And people, I have to say, the people of Lebanon are so gracious. And even if they have needs, they will say, go to the next one, help them. They have a greater need than me. And the beauty of their receptivity shows the resilience of the people of Lebanon. And I do want to say, Sam, that from all around the world, we have been receiving messages, emails, Facebook messages, posting, saying we're praying for you, we're encouraging you, and how can we be involved? How can we help? And I just want to say thank you to the World Church, to the divisions who've sent us many encouraging messages and support, to the World Church membership who have said, yes, we're here for you, to the General Conference for opening ways, for all of the support that we're receiving. You know, oftentimes I have to say, our heart is full, and even it brings tears to my eyes when other mission territories like ours reach out to us and say, we want to help support you in a time of crisis. And when another needy part of the world reaches out to us, we say, how can we not but be grateful to the way that God inspires people's hearts and reaches out to us? And we're so glad to partner with ADRA. Günther and I meet several times a day these days, either by phone or in person when we're there, because we want our response to be together. We're helping ADRA, and ADRA is helping the people of Lebanon, and we're together in our response to this crisis.
Rick, the people of Lebanon are very connected with the world, and it wouldn't surprise me if they come across this broadcast. If there are people in Lebanon who want to join the effort of helping others, because coordination is really important, yes. Do they have to be Christian? Do they have to be Adventist to help? How do they connect with you? Where do they go?
Actually, well, we were down supporting yesterday and the day before. We had several people who were coming down to help, teams, families, etc., who said, you guys are organized, you guys are representing something we want to do. They joined us. It didn't matter what faith background they came from. It didn't matter who they were. They had, there was a couple twins who said, we were born on September 11, 2001. We want to support the efforts, and we want to join with you guys, because you guys have America somehow attached to your university. Well, not particularly, but some of us were Americans. So they joined forces with us. It doesn't matter your faith background. It doesn't matter your ethnic or national background. All of us are here working together. In fact, we were working side by side with a team from Nigeria, and they had flown in on their own. And I asked them, where are you from? Are some of you Adventists? They said, we're Christians and we're Muslims and we're working together. And that's the same spirit that we are working with in ADRA and the church. We're here to help the people of Lebanon come back from this. And the people of Lebanon are helping themselves. They have dignity and honor, and they are pulling together and pulling up their bootstraps. And we're here to help and assist them. So if there's anybody who wants to find a way, contacting ADRA International is a good way. Contacting ADRA Lebanon is an excellent way, because we can connect you live. Contacting Middle East University or Middle East University Seventh-day Adventist Church. These are ways that people can connect with us. And we're all on Facebook, we're all on the web. People can find a way, and they can find a way to connect with us. Come up to our campus. We'll show you where our teams launch from every single day.
Wonderful. Günther.
Yeah, I will say the same. The needs are huge, as everybody can see on television. If you want to help ADRA, to help the people, the easiest way is just to go to our webpage and make your donation. we will make sure that we will transform your donation in a meal or a window or a door, something we will provide to the people who are desperately in need. So I think now is the time that we need to share the comfort that we are experiencing elsewhere outside Lebanon to help the people here. Okay, thank you very much for anything that you can do for the people here.
Excellent. Let's bring back the pictures again, from the pictures that Rick showed at first, and then we go back to Günther's images. And if you joined our broadcast, this is ANN in Depth. We're talking about Lebanon. We're talking about the blast, the explosion that the people of Beirut suffered a few days ago. And these are some images directly from Beirut. Both Rick, he is the leader of the Adventist Church for the region, and Günther is the leader of ADRA for the region, Adventist Development and Relief Agency. You see the office blocks have been destroyed. Rick, let's go back to the office block. Why does it matter? Remind us again why it matters that the offices are all destroyed, because they're just buildings, right? But they represent something, especially employment. Tell us more about the impact of the destroyed offices.
Already before the crisis, about 60% of the population have been considered under the level of poverty due to the recent economic crisis. And so to have a lot of the office buildings in the downtown area all blown through, losing, imagine, electricity, losing the windows and doors, air conditioning units, probably most of the hard drives and the data in these large office buildings is probably all wiped out. And you think of the economic impact of losing probably another 10 to 15% of jobs that have already been decimated in the country before this crisis. And now all these people left with no office to call, to go into work every day. And literally, some people are wandering the streets in emotional shock. I wouldn't say that that's a common sight because everybody's busy trying to do things, but there are some people who are such in shock that going to work would be impossible for them right now. But these offices represent people's livelihoods. And that's what we have to remember.
Next picture, please. This is the local church.
That's about a 1 kilometer from our union office. And they lost about 22 of the windows that are there. We have been on lockdown. And this Sabbath, after this, was our first week to be back on lockdown. So we would not have been able to meet. But in a few weeks, when lockdown opens up again, we hope that we can repair the windows and be back in a closed environment. Our lovely piano the lid of it was destroyed. The pastor's office, the window imploded on it. Some of the furniture and pews were also very, very damaged during this crisis. Yeah.
And how far is this from the blast?
This is about 4 kilometers from the blast site.
That's what,
and
3 miles? 2.5 miles
from the blast site. Also had many windows around the university complex, dormitory windows. The theology room had a classroom, had all of its windows blown in, and a large pane of glass that was maybe 2.5 centimeters thick, entirely crumbled from the pressure of the blast.
What about the ear? Did people lose hearing? Because that was asked in the chat. I had not thought about it. If it's blowing these windows out, surely the eardrum was also affected.
You know, I'm old, so my ears are already ringing, but I have heard several people say very specifically that after the blast that their equilibrium and their hearing was affected. And even I heard one say that the pressure on their eyes somehow made it hard to see for a little while. But I heard many, many complaints about hearing, yes.
Yeah.
Günther, tell me about this picture.
Well, yes. Today, the Slovak Republic sent this airplane from the government to bring medicines and some equipment. And ADRA Slovakia, we want to thank them. They sent to ADRA Lebanon 1 ton of food for us to distribute to the population. Of course, it's not much, but they took the advantage of having a ride in this government plane as ADRA Slovakia, and we just collected this food today, and we are going to repack in parcels for the families. It was amazing. We received the news this morning at 1:15. We were there very quick. And this is just to show that we can receive also donation like that. And just to add one comment about the blessed, if you see the map of Lebanon on the Mediterranean, you will see the Cyprus island, which we can reach in a plane like that in 35 minutes. The blessed was heard in Cyprus. Can you imagine how many kilometers? I don't know now by heart, but it was huge.
I think it's about 200 kilometers away, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Rick, you are the leader of the Adventist Church in this region. We have 21 million Adventists worldwide. This is 162,000 congregations, and there are we in order to help coordinate this mission of the Adventist Church, we have 13 divisions and some other territories. And you've received some notes from those divisions of support and so on. Tell us how that support has been.
You know, our world church family, I have to say, it hangs together in times of crisis. Though 21 million, you can't say it's a family, but we are a family. And the first message I received was from Trans-European Division in Europe, Rafat Kamal, who is Lebanese. He was born here. He grew up here. Recently, his parents passed, not related to this crisis. But he very quickly started giving us ideas and recruiting the ADRA network of Europe to respond to the crisis here. We've received beautiful love messages and support, even financial support from South America Division, from Inter-America Division, and all those areas of the world. We have, of course, families in various parts of the world who have reached out to us and said, we want to help, from Europe, some from North America, etc., that have said, we want to help. How can we be a support? And I have to tell you, we are a union, not a division, and we received a beautiful message from China Union saying we want we're praying for you and we want to help support the response that's going on. And when you have these supports from various parts of the world, we just look at it and we say, how do we even come across the radar screen of people's interest? But we are touched and moved by the generosity, the love, the prayers. And I have to say that our fellow leaders around the world, they don't forget us. And we are in their hearts, and the people of Lebanon are in the hearts of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, World Church family.
And here are some church members. This is, I believe, a pastor, Andre Wallace. He's saying, we'll be praying. We'll also try to see what contributions we can send from the district of churches. We have Trixie that is saying, I'm from Europe and I have prayed for Lebanon. I've sent a small amount to my local ADRA. Every little bit helps. Then you have Oma that is also praying from Papua New Guinea. Wow. And Sylvia, who's praying where she from Alberta, Canada, will send you a donation and pray for Lebanon. I pray God may bless you and multiply the aid you receive. So we have a world church. There are multiple countries in all over the world that have already committed to praying and to helping. Now let's talk about ADRA's effort again. This is not the first time that ADRA has helped in a crisis. Tell us, what is ADRA exactly, and what is your emphasis and how you help, not just in Lebanon, but globally?
Yes, as our word acronym says, we are a humanitarian agency, ADRA, and we work for development, ADRA, Adventist Development and Relief. So we have these two major work to do. When there is no crisis, of course, we work on development, basically in health, in agriculture, in education. Here in MENA, in the countries we are working, basically we are working in relief. War in Yemen, the war in Syria, recently war in Sudan. We are present in these three countries. We have presence in Iraq. So ADRA works doing lots of activities to alleviate the poverty of the communities, to strengthen the capacity of the communities to overtake, to change their situation, a poverty situation, by, for example, providing water for those communities that don't have water. They have to walk distances. We provide also opportunities for kids to be in a school. We do school feeding, or we support the schools building schools. We work in Africa, in Asia, in South America, in agriculture, even transforming poverty, poor land into production land. So we have several kind of activities. In the relief, when things happen like we have experienced here, we try to bring the basic needs first, which is water and food. And of course, we are going now in Lebanon to see what else we can provide. We will see also some gaps that other NGOs are not providing, so we can also provide assistance.
Excellent. If you are interested in finding out what the latest information is for what ADRA and what the church is doing there, you can follow the MENA Facebook pages and Instagram, and also the ADRA Lebanon Facebook pages and social accounts. Rick, tell us about some people that had some escape from the blast, and some stories that you were sharing before.
You know, I can think of a couple stories. One is there's a couple of our teachers at the Bushria School, which we saw pictures of earlier. They were in our media center doing a recording for the Hope Channel. And as they were recording, it was a little frustrating. Things weren't working out, and they ended up staying later than they expected. But when they arrived home, they saw why, if they had arrived home on time, their whole picture window overlooking Beirut, the sliding glass door of their balcony, was blown in, and they would have been showered with glass. And they look at that now and they say, wow, how can we serve? How can we give back? And they have been down on the streets cleaning things, helping people virtually every day since this. Another story, Sam, that happened is really close to all of our hearts, because those of us that have children, our MENA government liaison, who works with our visas and stuff, he and his wife were at home expecting some guests, and they were cleaning. And suddenly, when the shaking of the blast happened, they said, oh, we should pull back. And the little boy was right in front of, again, a balcony window, a large sliding glass door. And they told him, move away from there, move away from there. And just before he was able to move, the impact blast blew out and shattered glass all over their 7-year-old boy, and completely from head to toe. And the father reached and grabbed him out from underneath the glass, and shockingly, not a scratch on that little boy. And he was wearing a tank top and shorts and barefoot. He was absolutely, there's pictures that I have of the implosion of the glass and the devastation. Not a scratch on that little boy. And the father said, how are you doing? He says, I'm okay, because I prayed for Jesus to help me, and the Lord answered my prayer. And you look at this story and the shaking and the anxiety of the parents afterwards, and the mom and dad who had such impact from it. And we look at that and we say, why are we spared during times of crisis? And there's a famous book by Philip Yancey called The Question That Never Goes Away. And my wife and I, we lived through the tsunami in Sri Lanka many years ago. And we had to ask that question repeatedly. Why were we spared and others were not? And the only resolution that I can come to for me is the only reason that I'm spared a couple times during these tragedies is in order to turn around and help those who are suffering from the crisis that we're involved with. We are saved to go turn around and to serve others and to help humanity in need. And so this is, I'm sure, the same life that Günther is committed to, and our family and our staff are committed to, that we are here to serve humanity, ADRA and the church side by side.
Yeah.
What amazing stories. We, as part of the Seventh-day Adventist Church, we all believe, all 21 million of us believe, that God has not given up on this world and that he's coming back to restore this world. And until that happens, institutions like ADRA, who helps to develop, to feed the hungry, who help to create sustainability and disaster relief. We believe that the new earth that God will create will not have blasts, that it will not have people that are hungry, that it will not have people that are homeless. So we're doing our absolute best, even in the old earth, to anticipate that day when we will be truly free. And you're right, Rick, we have no idea why God spares some and doesn't others. That doesn't seem to be much rhyme or reason. And one day those things will be revealed, and we just have to be content with that tension as we are here. Günther, the last few words, you can talk directly with our viewers. Some are Seventh-day Adventists, others are not. ADRA works, of course, with everybody from every creed, every ethnicity, and so on. What do you have to say directly to them? And please make the appeal again for people to give.
Yeah. Well, ADRA is a humanitarian agency. We are present in more than 100 countries where we serve anybody that is affected by a disaster like this, or we come to a community to develop their livelihoods. So if you want to also contribute to the well-being of the population here in Lebanon, which is suffering a lot after this blast, this explosion, you can, as you can see in your screen, you can send a donation. We will make sure that your donation will help a family, a child, or an old person. We'll go to those who are in need. And millions of the Lebanese, I would say almost everyone here in Lebanon is affected. So thank you very much for your sacrifice to help us to assist the people here in Lebanon. And please contact us also if you want.
Thank you, Günther. Rick, same thing to you. What would you say to the church family worldwide who are watching, and those that are not Seventh-day Adventists who follow our channels?
I just want to say again, thank you to the World Church for the prayer and encouragement, support. The way that you have pulled together as a worldwide family just makes the little bit that we can do here very meaningful. And I really want to reach out to every person to remember the people of Beirut who have suffered in this tragedy. They've suffered economically, for sure. They've suffered in their life, in their psychosocial. The impact of this reminds them of the war days in the past. So just remember the people of Beirut and those of us that are doing our best to serve them. We want to do our very best, and we want to be faithful to your wishes to serve the people of Beirut in the way that would honor God and build up the people here. So thank you so much for all of your support, and especially the way that you're praying for us from around the world.
Rick, Günther, thank you so much for joining us in A&N In Depth. It's been very enlightening to see how the church and ADRA are working collaboratively to alleviate the suffering of the people of Lebanon at this difficult time. The worst has not passed. We continue to appeal to you that are at home to continue to pray for the people of Lebanon, that God will find a way to alleviate their suffering, their anxiety, and the many difficulties that they're facing. If you've been watching A&N In Depth for the last few weeks, we've covered many different topics. This is a very special episode with this update. Feel free to contact us on these pages. And if you have a prayer request of your own, then feel free to contact these pages as well and let us know of that, because we are here to support and to pray for each other. This has been A&N In Depth. Thank you very much for watching.
Thank you, Sam. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so much.